I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it here. We've been just super busy this morning, and I'm gonna try and have a quick conversation about what could small business do that big business can't. So, my name is Eric Wilken. I own the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri, and we manufacture fine furniture, boutique furniture, whatever you want to call it. We also high gloss lacquer furniture, and we send it all over America. It's a fantastic business, and it's a small business, right? Which is kind of what I want to talk about today. I'm going to set my camera down here. Sorry, guys. I was literally in the process of getting a desk done that has to go to West Palm Beach, Florida, and I've been shooting video on it so that I can show you guys exactly how that works, how I make these crazy cabinets, how I fix lacquer problems and all kinds of fun stuff. But anyway, what we have going on here is, here we go, I'm gonna make it. Okay, so truth is that small businesses is much more of a personal kind of a place to be, right? So it's much more of a personal relationship between not only the customer, right, but more importantly, it's with the employees. There are things that small businesses do that big businesses just would never do. And I know this because I've been on both sides of the spectrum, right? So I've been the employee, right? I worked in manufacturing for the better part of 20 years, off and on. And then I had my own business many times and it failed, right? And now I have the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri with my wife, and been doing this now for 8 years. And so I've been on the other side of it. And I can tell you that, that as small business owners, we tend to sacrifice a lot to keep our companies going. And I don't think you see that as much on the larger corporations. And so it's more people I think need to work for small businesses, and they need to understand how it is that we tend to operate. You know, we're not just looking to make a buck. We're not just looking, to get our stock price up. Like, there's a lot of other things about being a small business owner that you don't get when you work for a big company. And anyway, so that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And I think it's a good conversation. And I don't know how many people that work for small businesses in this that'll see this stream. I hope there's lots of you. But truth is that for the most part, I always worked for big corporations, right? So my very first job was working for a company, I should say my first real job, I'll call it. I was working for a company called Global Engineering and Technology in Wichita, Kansas. I worked for those guys for 11 or 12 years. And truth is that when I first started there was like 50 people, and we built cabinets for private jets, like Cessnas and King Airs was the big one, Hawker Beechcraft, companies like that. At the time it was called Raytheon. But anyway, that's where I started. And then I moved to a company called Nordam, which is a multinational conglomerate company that worked on more commercial airplanes and did some private stuff too. But much larger, thousands and thousands of employees. And then I finally got to Gulfstream, which is the king daddy of private jets, right? So then you're talking, I forget how many employees they had, 25,000 employees. There was a lot of employees. And they were part of a much bigger company called General Dynamics, which is a major defense contractor. So they had extremely deep pockets when they needed to. So anyway, point is that working for that small business when I first started working was very different than working for Gulfstream at the very end. And then I've used things from that small business and those big multinational conglomerates to run my business here. Let's see here. Can you call Ned? Okay, sorry, my wife's messaging me as I try and talk, which is of course how it goes, right? The only time people want to get a hold of you is when you're trying to do a stream of some kind. It's like, just give me 30 minutes to myself. Anyway, yes, dear, I will call Ned. Okay, so we got people coming in. See, hi, Romo7, hi. Hello, good to meet you. Glad everyone's in the stream. Hit the like button. Add to the comments. I appreciate everyone saying hi. Can I get a shout out? Lynn Garrett, get a shout out. Lynn Garrett, I don't know who you are. I'm terrible with names. I don't know if you've worked with me, if you've bought our furniture. I have no idea. Anytime I see a woman on here, I just assume that people have either purchased my furniture or work for me. I have no idea. So yeah, Lynn Garrett, I'm glad you're here and contribute to the conversation, and I'll definitely go back and forth with people. But anyway, so small businesses do things that big businesses can't do. But one of the things that small businesses tend to do is they really focus on their products, their people, and their customers. And it's just everything to us. We don't care about stock. We don't care about what the bond ratings are doing. We don't care about a lot of these kind of peripheral things that you see in the economy today. Like we just go to work and we just grind it out every day. And when you hear people talking about like, oh, what's the plan? What's the plan? You know, long term is what are we gonna do in 5 years? What are we gonna do in 10 years? Like we're just trying to make it through the week, you know, and there's years where things go really well and you can definitely, you know, plan to do things in a year or two, but like for the most part, like you're just trying to make payroll every week, you know, try to make sure you got enough sales coming in to get your people paid. And it's a very different kind of an environment. So I've got more comments coming in. All right. So Lynn, all right, who we got in here? I'm a kid on my grandma's phone. Okay, fantastic. Well, Lynn, thanks for paying attention, but we're talking about business, small business, all that kind of stuff. Then we got Nikki Yoshida. Hello. What are y'all discussing today? We're discussing small business. I was just talking about there's things that small business can do that big businesses can't do, which is fantastic, right? And this is one of the reasons I put this whole stream, not the stream, but I put this channel together is to show people how we make things, why we run a business, how a business is actually ran, specifically a woodworking business. I never talked about this, but in the past, I read a book called, gosh dang it. Of course, I'm on my live, so I have trouble remembering. It's called Boss Life. The book's called Boss Life, and this guy named Paul Downs wrote this, and it was a book that he wrote, and I want to say his company was in Pennsylvania. But anyway, he wrote this book about how he ran this furniture company and the struggles that he went through to go from being a furniture maker to a business owner, and just the sheer amount of just crap this guy had to go through trying to make that transition from being a fabricator and someone that gets to craft something to someone that has to deal with employees, right? And someone that has to deal with sales and keeping the business together. And that's one of the reasons I put this Woodrunner channel together, is just so people can see this is a woodworking business. What I show you guys how the stuff's done. And it frustrates me because we got a lot of people on YouTube that talk about woodworking, and they want to show you how to make things, but then you go look at their website, and all they're trying to do is sell you coffee cups, right? They're trying to sell you drawings on how to make stuff, and they're, you know, selling boner pills and mental health subscriptions, and it's very odd, you know? So whereas if you go on anything that I do, it's all woodworking related, it's all furniture. So if you go on the ResplendentCrow.com, which is my company, you'll find 200 pieces of furniture you can buy right now. We will send it to you, we'll deliver it to your home, and then you'll actually have a product that the person on YouTube is talking about, right? An actual woodworking product, a piece of furniture. And so that's why I put this thing together. And running a small business is very difficult, but it's very rewarding, right? And working for, what I was saying earlier, is working for a larger company is very different than working for a smaller company. Okay, so more comments. Okay, you just got a sub, nice. Thank you, Nikki, I appreciate it. Yeah, that's how we're talking about. We're gonna talk about the business of woodworking, small business owners versus big business owners. And there's things that you can do as a small business owner that I could never do in my big business, right? And one of the things that's really cool is, and everyone hit the like button, all that good stuff, subscribe, you know, add to the comments. One of the things that's really cool is you're a part of the community, which again, people hear these things and they think they're kind of tacky sounding, but they're not. We're not blowing smoke up each other's ass or anything like that, but there's people, you're somebody within your community. Like, you know how many times I've gone out and people will see my wife, and they'll say, oh, you're Sucheta, you're the Sucheta. She's called the Sucheta, she's like a one-name celebrity. And that stuff really feels good. Or you get these people that are saying, hey, you know what, I really like your product. I can't afford it, can you tell me how you did that? And you can show these people how to do things, and all different facets of people, like middle-class people, you know, uber wealthy people, you know, it's all kinds of people, like people on the stream. I'm guessing no one here is super wealthy, but we're sharing information. I'm trying to help people to see that you can do this. It can be done. You don't have to be super intelligent, you know, and it's not something that you don't always have to work for somebody else if you have that dream of doing something yourself, but it's freaking hard. It's so damn difficult. And anyway, okay, so we got more people coming in. Mike's here today. Okay, hey Mike, how's it going, bud? Mike used to work for me. Mike's a painter. If you guys ever need anything painted, kitchen cabinets, things like that, reach out to him. He's actually someone that struck it on his own, which is really cool. And I like, anytime I see Mike on here, I like seeing that he's here. I like hearing his feedback and knowing that he's still in the game, still kind of trying to do the business thing, because it's super difficult, you know. So, see, Mike, I have terrible reception day, but I'm trying the conversation and shouldn't comment. Okay, fair enough. Do you know what a shockwave is? Garrett, you're smart. I don't know what a shockwave is per se. I mean, unless you're talking about just like like what you get underneath the water when there's a big, massive burst of energy that creates a shockwave, you know, and everything that is in the path of that burst of energy as it is moving, that kinetic energy obviously is going to be impacted, So as far as I know, that's a shock wave. Anyway, so as small business owners, we get to, we do a lot of things to really take care of our employees. And it's not always easy, and we can't take care of everybody, but we're going to be willing to do things like I've sold a lot of things that are like really important to me to get to where we're at today, to keep this company alive. And last year I was looking at mortgaging my home, putting a second mortgage on my house just so I could keep my company going. It turns out I didn't have to, which is fantastic. But we were concerned, and that's the thing about being a business. When you have really good employees and people around you, you don't want to change those people out. Like, the worst thing about being a business owner is hiring people, and not because we don't want to give people jobs, but because once you get somebody that knows what they're doing and you don't really have to watch them or train them, they just it's almost like an autopilot kind of thing. It's like you've hit the gold mine. Like, it's literally the gold mine, Now, if you're a large corporation, I worked in large corporations, and the minute anything slows down, the first thing that happens is people go. They just start hacking people off, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you're good at what you do, you're probably never going to lose your job, And anytime hard times come, it's the people that are just average that go first, And unfortunately, that's just how it is. Big companies call those things riffs, like they can't even call them what they are, which is a layoff, And so anyway, so small businesses, like I said, I feel like they do things that are just very different than large corporations, and it's much more personal. When you're trying to grow a company and keep a small business going, and you have to see your people every day, interact with people, you got to see them deal with their kids, you got to, see them get new cars, houses, all these kind of things. Like, there's a weight that is rested on your shoulders to keep those people employed and to constantly keep business coming in so that those people have something to do, So as a small business owner, I'm sure big businesses, think about this stuff from time to time, but I can tell you as a small business owner, it's one of those things that just really weighs on me a lot, and I never want to see anybody lose their job if I can help it, because it's the worst feeling in the world. I've let somebody go. Okay, next thing. All right, so you see, are the small business owners where you're at currently? Are the business owners where you are at currently? Not quite sure what you're saying there. Are you the business owner where you're currently? Yes, I am the owner. I'm the owner operator. I'm the main builder. I'm the guy that deals with all the shit and the customers and has to fight with vendors and whatever. Yeah, I'm that person. So my name's Eric Wilken. I own the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri. We are a boutique furniture manufacturer and a high gloss lacquer painting company. We make all the super shiny, colorful furniture that people want. But different than a lot of other companies, we make the furniture, okay? We make it specifically to be painted, whereas most people take vintage furniture and they paint it, right? Which is fantastic, and we do that as well. We just happen to make it specifically for painting. So we carry a lot of different product lines. I have anywhere from 200 to 300 pieces listed on my website at any one time, and it's a great company. Some years we do it really well, other years we do it really bad. And on the whole, it's a $100,000 a year business for me personally, so it's not big money, but it's not peanuts either. It's an average minimum wage, not minimum wage, it's an average kind of middle class life is kind of how I like to put it. So yeah, so I'm the owner, and that's why I talk about this stuff, because I'm the person doing the work. I'm not just somebody bitching about my boss or bitching about the situation in life. Like, I have a lot of say over how my company is ran, how things are, and if it all falls, it's because I didn't do my job. And 8 years strong, so we're still here. And we're going to keep grinding, and when we see these things like tariffs and all that kind of stuff and freaking out of the market, like, we don't care. It doesn't really affect us. If you're a big corporation with shareholders and stuff like that, and that stock starts to crash, I mean, one of the first things you do is start figuring out a way to make your numbers look good so that your stock will go back up. And one of the first things you do is cut people, right? A lot of people don't know this. When you own a company, the fastest way to get costs under control is just cut people, right? Because the truth is you could try and save money on parts and supplies and things like that, but at the end of the day, who uses all that stuff, right? It's always employees, and so you start whacking off employees, and magically you're not going through as much material, you don't need as much insurance, right? Insurance is calculated on your payroll. A lot of people don't know this, so when you start hacking off employees, you can start cutting your costs really quickly. It doesn't help production, but But you could always extend lead times and stuff like that. There's things you can do, but it's a side discussion. Okay, more stuff coming in. There you go. Okay, it's also the echo that if it hits you too hard, it can hurt you, and it's harder if you stand your. So that's rare. Yeah, right. No, but it's true. And the thing about it is, well, hold on, I'm gonna read your comment one more time. It's like the echo, and it's. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, about the chocolate. Yep, got it. Yes. Yeah, it's there's things that can happen in a business that you just can't foresee, like black swan type things, and there's stuff that here's the thing. I'll give you guys something real quick. As a small business owner, you know, large businesses get to talk about planning, right? They can plan, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, all these kind of things. You kind of put these plans together to run, and you can implement them, very strategically. As small business owners, we can't do any of that because here's what happens. I've had months where my sales have gone from say my average month is $100,000, right? That's kind of my revenue. You're going to go anywhere from say, I don't know, 80,000 to 120,000. You're kind of in that range, but on the whole, it's like 100,000. Okay, I've had months completely random where my sales go from an average of 80 down to 20, right? And that can happen at any time, and it happens every year at one point or another, to be quite honest. And there's no rhyme or reason for it. It just happens, and most people can't deal with those kind of crazy swings. It drives my wife fucking crazy, but that is the nature of business. And unfortunately, you have to be able to build up enough capital to where that's going to happen every year, and you're able to have some kind of a reserve where you can absorb that, and if it happens over 3 months, you're out of business. And I've been in business long enough to know that I have never been able to build up enough cash to, have 6 months of expenses. Like for me, that would be like having $500,000 in my bank account, which I haven't had in, 4 or 5 years, not since COVID, right? And you just can't do it, So these shockwaves, as you're saying, if one of those comes in, we could absorb one of them, but you can't do it for so long. So small business is very difficult, right? So that's one of the reasons we're so attuned to making sure that our employees are happy, that our facilities and our workspaces are the best they possibly can be with the resources that we have. We're very into making sure people are happy, because if there's a drastic change or a shockwave, as you put it, we're hosed, we're in deep shit. So being a small business owner is very tricky. But when you're a larger company, I guess you because you have all these capital reserves and you can, again, do all this planning and things like that, you're kind of a couple steps away from your employee, right? You've got managers, middle managers, and things like that, so the owner, if there even is an owner at the large company, is no longer as reactive to what the employees are doing, unfortunately. So being a small business, we can do things that, like I said, those big businesses can't do it. It's a cool way to work. It's a cool way to interact with people. And then on the customer side, hold on, more comments. Okay, let's see here. Message redacted. So more stuff coming in. See, do you push for events or additional projects during off seasons? I'll talk about that. That's a good question. Actually, I can talk about that. Talk about High Point. See, how is it being the owner of your own work? Adaptability is important for sure. Okay, so I'll start with how is it being the owner of your own work? It's the best thing, right? And this is one of those things about having. What I was getting ready to say about the customer side, right? So as a small business owner, I have a relationship with all of my customers, right? Which feels really good, feels really shitty when you can't do something you said you're gonna do or you forget to do something. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword, but like my wife who handles sales, she has the most relationship with customers. She has 85% of all the relationships. I literally have 15. I'm basically the builder. I'm the fab guy, the operations guy here in the shop. But it feels really good to be that close to your customers. You know how many times you've had customers that tell us, hey, come deliver the piece and come stay with us for the weekend. Or, hey, we're going to be out of town, drop the piece off. Why don't you guys stay for the weekend? I've been all over the country. That's one of the good things about making a boutique piece of furniture, a luxury good, is that all your customers live in the best places, So you can develop these great relationships with them, and it's a lot of fun, and you get to do and see some really cool stuff. So I love it, man. I love whenever my customer has a problem, like my furniture breaks. Like, believe it or not, every year, I'd say every I don't know, probably 2 or 3 times a year, something breaks on a piece of custom furniture that I made, and I got to fly out somewhere and go fix it. And I love it. It's my excuse to go take a vacation. I go see my customer. My customer's usually happy that I went out there and took care of their problems so quickly, and it ends up fostering a better relationship. Like, a lot of people think that when something breaks, your product's bad. Customers are so pissed, and it doesn't really work that way. As long as you do what you say you're going to do and you take care of the customer. So, all right. The other thing I was going to say, adaptability is important for sure. Yeah. You got to be very. Everything's fluid all day, every day. Everything's fluid. You can't just plant your flag. This is how I'm going to operate, and then just people just constantly beating up against you. You got to be able to bob and weave and move. And we started this company painting furniture. That's all we did was paint vintage furniture. And then I came in and I saw some of these bases and things that my wife was paying other people to make for her, and it was the shittiest quality you'd ever seen. And back then we were selling furniture for like, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000 a pop. And I was just disgusted. So I started making it. And once I started making it, then it became a point where, people were asking for custom designs, and my wife, since she had met me, started asking me to do some of the stuff. So I started messing around with it. And before you know it, I started making shit, and then started making so much stuff that I had to quit my aerospace job, and I just started working here. And now the average piece of furniture we sell is probably $4,200 maybe, an average transaction. So it's the cost has gone up a lot, but the quality has gone up, and the stuff that we offer has gone up a lot. Anyway, it feels great to own your work, I guess is kind of what I'm getting into. All right, next question. Let's see, do you push for events or additional? Okay, so this is a good, because I was going to talk about this. So yes, we like to go to High Point once a year, if we can. We didn't go last year, but we like to go to High Point and look at the trade shows, and we've talked about going there many times, and we pushed for it. I want to say it was 2002 we were going to do it. It was, of course, the end of COVID, and that was just a clusterfuck of a time. But anyway, point is we wanted to go. I had a buddy of mine who did end up going, and he told me it's probably not such a good idea for what we do. Not that we're not going to do it, but the cost to do High Point, by the time you got to figure, if I own a furniture company and I'm selling furniture, I have to invest in at least a dozen pieces that I can pre-make, paint, get ready to go. I have to have my shipper take them all out to High Point, and then we have to exhibit, and my buddy said it cost about $50,000 to go do the show. So that's what it would cost me in costs, right? And, if my bank account has, but most of the time, I'd say $100,000 maybe, somewhere in there is kind of like where the bank account usually lies. That's to run a company that has $60,000 in expenses every month, so it sounds like a lot of money, but it just isn't. So there's not always a ton of money. So what we do, the way that we do what you're talking about with this doing trade shows and events and stuff like that in the off season is I will actually take out a loan with the intent of doing an action, right? Whether it was a show, whether it's pushing a line of furniture, right? If I know that I'm going to create a new line of furniture, I might go take out a $50,000 loan, and you can do this from Shopify. If you have here's a tip, a good business tip for everyone. If you have a Shopify store and you have good sales in your Shopify store, Shopify will give you as much money as you want. And the cool thing about it is they just take it out of your sales, right? So if you're I think the last loan we took out was like 10 grand or 10%, excuse me. And that's what happens. They just take 10% of your sales every time there's a transaction, and that's how that loan gets paid off. And if there's months where you really need that cash, right? You're hit really hard. You can sell your stuff on other platforms. You don't necessarily have to sell on Shopify. You can move that over to Square. You can move over to QuickBooks. You can do things so that you don't have to pay as much of that money back. And that's obviously Shopify wouldn't like that, but that's just that's how it works. So you can do those things, but that's how I do that kind of stuff. And I just haven't. I'm finally in a good place where I don't need to take out loans and I don't need to worry about trade shows. We have such a large presence and such a great reputation within the high gloss lacquer and furniture making space that I don't know that I need to do that. But not to say that we won't at some point. I just haven't. And like I said, I had a buddy who did it, and he didn't think that it was worth the cost. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but we don't do a ton of that stuff. We're just big into marketing. I've talked about the holy trinity of online advertising and online business, right? So if you can have a website and you can have a blog, right, and then you can master the video side, and I'll include social media in that, but if you can do all three of those things, Google picks up on all that, and they will move you move you up the algorithm closer to the first page of the search, and then you can organically you can organically index really high when it comes to search for whatever product or services you provide. So it's a fantastic tool, and I've done videos on this. You can go back and watch them, but it's a really cool thing to figure that out. So bottom line is, I don't do a ton of trade shows. I love going to them, and I would like to do it. I can't justify the expenses. But okay, more questions. All right, how to have to build rapport with customers or members you are selling the emotional tie to buy your product versus them going down the street. Said that's a good point, and that's my wife's thing. Like, she does you go to Resplendent Crow on Instagram, and she's been doing it forever at this point, you know. And I forget how much, 100,000 followers. Maybe she might be like 80 or 90,000. I think about it, but lots of rapport, you know, on the internet. Lots of interactions with people online, but honestly, not a ton in person, you know, unless we're delivering something, which we don't even really do anymore. A lot of phone conversations. So, like, you wouldn't believe how many telephone conversations there are and how many emails there are back and forth. In that regard, our business is kind of dated in that regard. That's just because our customer is older. Our customer likes those forms of communication, and so that's what we're kind of forced to deal with. So. But yeah, it's very important to interact with your customers and potential customers, and that's something. Potential customers we definitely need to work on. More stuff. Okay, I do team events too. Get a couch, get a dinner for two at this place for those special events. People love free stuff with stuff they buy. Yeah, I know. So one of the things we do when we're selling furniture is every piece of furniture we deliver, we have what we call it's like a kit. And that kit, there's going to be, you know, it's going to be paint. There's going to be, you know, some stickers. There's going to be, I forget what else they put in there, like microfiber cloths and touch-up brushes and things related to lacquer, you know. And at one point we were doing, we had to send a Peachy, like the Peachy folder, I think is what we called it. And we had a bunch of, you know, like notepads and pens and, you know, coasters and stuff like that. And we stopped doing it. And I don't know why. I think it's because we would go through the stuff, and by the time we'd be sending the furniture out, we'd realize, oh shit, we're out of it. And we just never bothered to order it again, because we'd constantly be out of that stuff, because we run 30 to 50 pieces a month right now. You know, during COVID, we were doing 125 a month, you know, so we're way down in volume, but I mean, we're completely fine with it. So yeah, this is good stuff. So Nikki, I'm curious, what is it that you do? You might have to let me know. I'm kind of curious what people do that are in the stream. But anyway, back to what I was talking about with the big business for small business thing. So you develop these relationships as a small business owner, not only with your employees, but with your clients, and it just feels really good. It's nice to when I think if people could experience a little bit more of that, the whole money thing would be less of an issue, right? The whole being successful thing would be less of an issue. Like, I personally don't care if I get super successful. I'm not looking to get rich. Like, I genuinely just love going to work every day, and I work most days. You know, I've done these streams at this point for, I don't know, 2 years at this point. People kind of understand this is what I do, and I love it. It's a fantastic way to go through life, and I'm not worried about getting rich and buying Lambos. I just want to make furniture. You know, I just want to. You know, I want to be the best furniture in the world. I want my furniture to be in every celebrity's home. I want my furniture to be in every congressperson's home. You know, I want high society, my furniture to be in every home in high society. That's what I want. You know, and I like seeing my furniture when I go, you know, yeah, you see it, and I've got some, believe it or not, some rapper homes. You know, like, rappers like my furniture. You know, there's some Congress people that like my furniture. You know, there's a potential presidential candidate that has my furniture. You know, like, there's things that, like, that kind of stuff feels really good. And again, these are super successful people. Like I said, $100,000 a year, maybe, you know, but it feels good, you know. So anyway, I hope this resonates with people. I know it's just a little bit of riffing on small business and big business, kind of what I've experienced working for both sides of the coin, being the employee, being the owner, working for small business, working for multinationals, conglomerates, and things like that. And it's just small business is the way to go. It feels really good. I think if more people could do this, we'd have a lot less problems in life, you know, because if you're busy working on your company and you're busy, you know, helping your employees better their skills, do better in life, you're helping your customers get what it is that they want. You know, there's less people, you know, protesting. There's less people bitching about, you know, the color of people's skins and whatever sex people are into. And there's less of that crap, you know, and more people focus on helping other people get what it is that they want, you know, and it's a good thing. So anyway, I'm toying on my 30 minutes on here, so I got to read my comments real quick. I probably got to get out of here. Let's see, I worked for JPM Class Actions and proxy ops for the last 3 years, currently looking for new opportunities, JP Morgan. Oh, wow, nice. Interesting. Okay, well, I don't know much about the banking industry. JP Morgan, I like Jamie Dimon. I think he's a very smart guy. Yeah, that's a little, most of my customers work in your industry, believe it or not. I get advice from these people all the time, and I don't know what to do with any of it, to be quite honest with you. I've tried to buy and sell stocks, and I lose money every time, and that doesn't matter. I don't care. I still buy stocks and lose. It's fun. It's really what it boils down to. But anyway, I hope you're able to find something. And if you can find a product, like I tell people, like, get a website, come up with an idea, and make sure that your idea is available on that website. Spend maybe $200 or $300 a month and market your idea. Do Instagram or Meta ads. Get on Google, learn about Google ads. Get on YouTube, start making YouTube videos. Promote those YouTube videos, and if you can do all those things together, and that doesn't take a bunch of money. It actually takes a lot of time. You got to learn, but if you can do that stuff and just work at it for a couple of years, it's not going to happen right away. But that's literally all it takes. It's more about the idea and the persistence, right? The consistency of continuously doing this stuff. That's one of the reasons I do these streams. Is I'm sure people don't think that I'm a good speaker, that I'm really good at this, but over the years, I will get better at it. And because I own a company, I can take 30 minutes and talk here on a camera in my shop. And I can do these kind of things. I can make the videos. I can work on the website. I can design all the furniture, make new furniture. And I can talk about business and all these kind of things. And it will turn into something, but it just takes a lot of time, So anyway, I appreciate everyone adding to the comments and having the discussion. And got to get back after it. I got big freaking China cabinets to make. And I'm doing videos of this. I got a video coming out on how to fix lacquer mistakes on a beautiful faux bamboo lacquer desk that I just delivered, or that I just sent out today. And I've got a video coming out on my Greek Key Athens China cabinet. I'm building 2 of them right now, and I'm doing a full-length build video on those, and I'll show people exactly how that's made and how we paint it and make it all pretty and all that good stuff. Yeah, Nikki, thank you, and good luck, and come back on the stream again, and we'll talk about more stuff, and everyone have a fantastic day.